All right, it actually looks like our participant login has slowed down, so we'll go ahead and get it started. Thank you all for joining us tonight. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Allie Clement. I am an academic advisor. I serve in the Office of Academic Advising Initiatives, and I support some of our transfer initiatives that we have for our onboarding process that you'll hear about this evening. So the purpose of this virtual welcome is to just say welcome and help you transition to joining us for summer classes as a Hokie. So congratulations on your acceptance. We have a couple folks here to talk with you tonight. I do want to take a pause, and if you do have questions, we really want you to ask those throughout. Feel free to pop in the chat box with those. And type in any questions you may have. You're also, this group is small enough, there's 22 of you. You're also welcome to unmute and chat with us or turn your camera on. We'd love to see your faces. We do ask that you stay mute during, while people are speaking, but otherwise we definitely want to engage with you. Before we get started, I do want to say, I think one big question on everyone's mind is what's going to happen in fall of 2020? And the answer is we don't know. We are awaiting an announcement from President Sands in early June to determine what our fall 2020 semester looks like. So instead of focusing on that, we are going to help you get ready for your summer classes and hopefully answer any questions you have about joining us in the Virginia Tech community and especially the transfer community. With that, I hope everyone knows how to access and use the chat box. I'll be trying to monitor that throughout our session while you're hearing some from the other folks who are joining us. And speaking of that, let's hand it over and hear from my colleague, Jared.
Hey, everyone. So I'm Jared Delaney. I'm from the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. So I get to work with transfer students throughout the admissions and application process. And I'm so happy to be able to talk with you guys and to see you all here. Thanks for joining us. I know I recognize some names of some people who probably emailed me or I've talked to on the phone, or kind of at some point in your journey, you may have connected with our office or I've looked at your application, whatever it may be. But it's so exciting to see you all and to see you on the other side of things, right? Admitted, being able to come to Virginia Tech and to begin that next step in your journey. And I just want to take a second to, again, congratulate you, echo what Allie said, but also celebrate the fact that you made it through it and made it through that process and made it through some interesting circumstances, to say the least, over the last several months and have come out on the other side successful. So I think everyone deserves a pat on the back for that and taking that next step in their journey at Virginia Tech. So welcome. I'm here to help answer any questions related to admissions or other things. I was a student at Virginia Tech, so I went through that process and completing my undergraduate degree and was involved in a lot of stuff around campus while I was a student. I know a lot about things that go on, as do the other experts that you'll hear from tonight. So I'm just happy to be here and serve as a resource for you all in whatever I can and thinking about next steps, whether they relate to the admissions office or just kind of general things that I can help with. So with that, I'll turn it over to Nasim.
All right, welcome everyone. As Jared and Allie said, thank you for joining us. I am Nasim Schwab, and I oversee the onboarding and transitioning of transfer students to Virginia Tech. I work with Allie in the Academic Advising Initiatives Office. I also work with transfer students through various programs and represent academic advising. So one of the things we wanted to talk about tonight was just to show you some different resources, and I'll put the links in the chat as I'm talking, that might assist you as you're getting ready and prepared to come to Virginia Tech. And so hopefully you are all sitting with us because you have accepted your offer and you're getting ready to start with us here in the summer. And so one of the things that we have is we have this website for our transfer students as a whole. Hold on. And when you click the Welcome to Summer Transfers, it will take you to this website that will give you some information that pertains to getting registered for summer classes. And so there's some different resources on here you'll want to go through, getting yourself ready to be able to access your student account and to sign up for those classes, navigating Hokie Spa, looking at the timetable for classes. One of the things I do want to point out is that our summer classes begin on Tuesday, May 26th. And so if you're not signed up for classes that begin on Tuesday, you will want to try and get into your classes if you can at all possible this week. Virginia Tech is closed on Monday due to Memorial Day. And the way that you would register for your classes is dependent on the major that you are coming in under for Virginia Tech, because each of our colleges has a different process. But on here it outlines that. So for example, if you're coming in the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, then it will tell you that you'll have a new student hold on your account and that your academic advisor removes that hold. And if you're unsure who that is, you directly reach out to Dr. Karen Watson, the Director of Academic Support for the college. And so every college on here tells you how to sign up for the classes. And if you're planning to take classes that begin on Tuesday, you do have until Wednesday, May 28th to get into these classes, but just keeping in mind that classes do begin on that Tuesday. So if you sign up after Tuesday, you might be a little bit behind in your class beginning. Then you also, if you're planning on taking classes in that second part of our summer term, then those classes begin on July 10th and you have until July 8th to get into those classes. So you have a little bit of time if you're taking classes in the later part of the summer. See if I can. So this is specifically for you coming in for the summer, and it will direct you again to the different resources. So how to get your textbooks, how to pay your summer tuition, those different pieces that you need to do in terms of getting your required items done as a new student. And so computer requirements or some online programs, making sure your SRAR is updated with your spring grades for admission side, and having that official transcript sent over with your spring grades as soon as possible. And then if you haven't already, please make sure you create your username and VT email. Then some other pieces is on this website as a whole. As I said, we welcome you to Virginia Tech, to our Hokie transfer community. There's some different resources and programs you can look at. So if you're thinking about the fall semester and transitioning to that fall semester, there's resources you can go on here in terms of housing and some different transfer programs that we offer. We offer a 6-week mentor program that you can sign up for, and sign up will begin end of June on this website. And if you haven't already seen my name in emails, you will see my name in emails, because I will send stuff out over the summer letting students know when these programs have opened. This program is completely free to you, and it's a 6-week program. It's the first 6 weeks of the fall semester, and we connect you to a previous transfer student who's a current Virginia Tech student in your major or college, and they just serve as a student resource for you, and just to be able to answer those questions in that student perspective for you. So that's one of the programs we offer. We offer a 1-credit course you can take that's optional, and this course is taught in the fall semester. And this class is an opportunity for you to be in a class with other transfer students. It's team taught with transfer students. It is taught by our staff in our office. And the course is not teaching you how to be a student. We know you know how to be a student. We know that you're a successful college student. It's more teaching you about what your transition and resources at Virginia Tech, but doing a lot of self-assessment. Who am I? Where do I want to go? What do I want to do when I graduate? And how do I use my time at Virginia Tech to accomplish my academic, personal, social, and career goals while a student and beyond graduation? And so we do a lot of different things in that class. As I said, it's a 1-credit class. It meets once a week. So those are some programs that you can consider joining and participating in the fall. And again, more information will come about this, more emails will be sent out about that. And then this is a great place also for you to go through just as you prepare for your transition. It will connect you to computer requirements and major information and just those frequently asked questions you may have as you prepare to come to campus. There's tutoring services, and the Student Success Center does offer services during the summertime. Tutoring is a little bit more limited in the summer than it is in the fall. This is free to you as a Virginia Tech student, but they do offer other resources that they can provide to you as a student as well in thinking about getting through your classes. If you happen to be around the Virginia Tech campus area, there's information about printing. And then you can look at the just getting to know the area in general. So if you want to get a meal plan, if you are thinking about how do I get around Blacksburg, what about those health immunization records? So there's different information there as well.
Nasim, I'm going to pause for a second. And folks, if you have any questions about the information that Nasim just shared, feel free to drop those in the chat box. But she did mention something very important that I'm going to share my screen and navigate through. So within Hokie Spa, And Hokie Spa has a lot of different tabs and intricacies that you can explore. I think one that you might need to know sooner rather than later is within your Hokie Spa tab at the top. If you go down to view your general student information, you can see your academic advisor. It will be in red. So if you do not know who your academic advisor is, don't know who to contact, you can start there and then also cross-reference alongside the website that Naseem just showed that is specific to your college. So hopefully that is going to be a useful resource for you within Hokie Spa. Are there any questions that we can try to answer, or any other information, Jared, Naseem, that you want to input as of now?
One thing just to mention about academic advisors is some colleges don't assign an advisor right now. So if you don't see a name, don't panic. Some colleges wait until either before or after orientation to assign that academic advisor. And as you are starting and getting ready to do your summer classes, you do have to still attend or participate, because we are virtual this summer, but participate in a summer orientation program to get your fall schedule. So the advisors in the colleges will work with you now to make sure that you're all set up for the summer, but then they won't register the fall classes until you do your orientation. But yes, as Ali said, please ask us questions. You can unmute, you can put them in the chat. This is really just for whatever information you're looking for from any of us.
The required orientation is just one day, right? That was a question from Ethan. I think that's a really valid question because orientation looks a lot different this year. It is a series of modules that will be released throughout the summer. So the modules will be virtual videos with some assessments, maybe like a question or two attached to them. And you will also sign up for a one-day orientation to meet with your orientation leader to kind of ask questions, meet other students within your major. And then there might be a separate day. It really depends on your college. There could be a separate second day that is specifically within your college that has to do with the academic advising portion. So some colleges may be doing one-on-one meetings, some colleges may be doing group advising, kind of like you're seeing now. And that's going to vary depending on your major and college. But orientation is going to be essentially over the entire summer, so that's exciting. All right, Eric, I'm going to read your question out loud. Maybe Naseem can fill this one for you. All of the summer classes I've looked at say RRR for the weekly schedule. When will I know what days and times the lectures will be held? I am concerned about signing up for conflicting class schedules. So Naseem, do you know what ARRR means?
So the classes this summer are supposed to be held asynchronous.
Right.
I always try and make sure I don't mix up the two, but asynchronous, meaning that it's more on your own time, and you know the instructor may have specific times on the syllabus that they need you to come together as a group, but it's not like you logging in every day on a specific date and time.
Cool. And then I saw another question about our diversity EDU and sexual assault prevention. You can log into those. I'm trying to find you the link. Here we go. I will share my screen. So there might be a hold on your account, and that might be your diversity EDU, your sexual assault prevention online programs. So this website, which I will put in the chat box, can lead you to those to complete those and access the necessary information that you need there. And if you have any other holds on your accounts, maybe it's an advising hold, that would be going through your college and going through that website or your academic advisor.
And that might be a good time for me to jump in and kind of reiterate one thing that you said that Naseem addressed. So you all should be able to get into classes. Typically, and we try to clear some things up for you guys to make sure there were no difficulties this year with registering for summer classes. But in order to be eligible to continue on past a certain point at Virginia Tech, we have to have all of your final official documents. So that's where I have to be kind of that gatekeeper there and thinking about those transcripts. So I know Nasim encouraged you to make sure that your final transcripts are sent or that they have been sent. But you want to make sure that that's done as quickly as possible if it hasn't already been completed. To make sure that there's no problems with registering you for a future semester like fall, because that would be something that would generate a hold on your account eventually if we don't have your final documents and everything is not in order. I get asked a lot about high school transcripts, so it may be good to just address that. If you look at any of our official like communications and our messaging, you'll see that a high school transcript is not required at the admissions point. It's not required for you to begin your classes at Virginia Tech, but it's a good idea for most folks to go ahead and send a high school transcript, as you begin your time at Virginia Tech. And that's because we don't use it from an admissions capacity, but it can verify that you have things like foreign language credit in high school. And that can help you with satisfying some of your Virginia Tech degree requirements even. So it's a good idea to go ahead and have that sent. You can send it to our office or send it directly to the registrar's office because they maintain the kind of high school transcripts and passing that information along after it's articulated onto your student record. But if you do have any questions about transcripts or scores or anything like that, feel free to ask those as well.
Yeah, and I think there's some really good ones that I know a lot of students have right now. So Ethan and Hubert, and I'm going to come back to Tristan and Cassie and Kathy. So there's lots of good questions that I think the whole group can benefit from knowing the answers. I'm going to start with the two that are relevant to the transcripts. So where do we go to make sure our transcript went through? And if you've already sent your transcripts, but you don't see credit transfer yet, both of those things do take some time to process. Our registrar's office has literally thousands of transcripts being sent to them during this time. So that can take up to the entire summer, and you might not see your transfer credit potentially until August. So we understand that that is that's kind of confusing, and we understand that can be a little frustrating, but just be patient because we're not trying to withhold that information. And you can view HokiSpa to see if your transcripts have been received and if the information is just pending. You can also view on HokiSpa if transfer credit was received. So that would be, hang on, I can go through that as well. If you go, and this is actually an orientation module that you can look forward to spending some more time on, but if you go to onecampus.vt.edu, type in transfer credit, and there should be a little module that comes up that is green. It will lead you right into HokiSpa to view if your credit has been received and evaluated, or if it says pending, meaning they've received your transcripts, they're still evaluating those. So take that route to view if anything has been received. Nasim, Jared, anything to add to that point?
Yeah, so you'll be able to see kind of things as they process. Again, as Ali mentioned, it can take a while. The registrar's office processes and articulates officially the transfer credit and applies that to your record. So while admissions kind of maintains that document, then we kind of pass it along. For you all, I'm happy if you wanted to send me an email to track down to see if things have been received. Although I'll caution you that, I might be able to confirm at some point that it's there in process, but because there is a processing time, and especially because we're all working remotely, and so we're receiving those documents electronically and certainly through the mail, and they're coming to different folks who are in different locations, there is kind of a little bit of a lag in terms of the processing and in terms of communicating it and getting into a system where others can access it. But I'm happy to track down on anything, especially if you think that there's a problem with your documents not having been received or some kind of issue. But do know that if you send the documents, it could take several weeks for it to get processed and get to the stage of where it can be articulated. And as Ali indicated, there's a really high volume of these that the registrar is working on. So we're not sure kind of exactly what the turnaround time would be. I'm guessing that they're probably prioritizing transfers who are coming in the summer and getting everything in place, but I can't confirm that. One way to connect with the registrar's office specifically about transfer credit is going to be to email them at transfercredit@vt.edu. I'll drop that in the chat as well. You can send them an email to kind of ask questions about credits, maybe check on the status of your evaluation or with any concerns that you have about your transfer credit.
I'm also going to revisit some of the questions we had about orientation. So as I mentioned, orientation looks a lot different. If you've signed up for a date and do want to change that, you will need to contact orientation@vt.edu. I don't know their policies. I also know that certain spots are reserved for certain majors and certain colleges. So you might not have access to every orientation date that is offered. You might just have access to a few based on your major and college. But that would be orientation@vt.edu. And it looks like Tristan has figured it out for us. So within Visuals in VZ, that should be within your @vt.edu email. You can change it on the orientation form. Thank you, Tristan. And then Cassie had, or maybe not Cassie, Anna had a great question. Anon had a great question about, it says orientation is from 7 to 5, and will you be in front of a computer for that entire time? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that there will be some times that you do have some breaks built in, or maybe it's just a couple hours in the morning, maybe a couple hours in the evening. We don't know. I think that it's valid, and you should plan for whatever that time was in that full day, because you might have some back and forth. I also think that there is a family portion that might be separate from your portion within that same day.
And just to show, I'm going to put into the chat the link to orientation, so that if you haven't already signed up for orientation, you want to make sure that you go to that website and sign up for orientation. It will take you to here, and you'll see down, it will say register early. And as Ali said, it does talk about what the experience will look like, that it's completely online, that the first set of modules are going to be released on May 26th, which will be Tuesday, and then we'll have another set that will be released mid-June. And so the first steps for you really is to just make sure that you sign up for that orientation piece. Then it tells you that you can do a schedule overview. I don't know if they published the schedule yet, but when they do, they publish it in something called Hokies on Track. And so it is an app that you'd want to make sure that you download and have on your phone, so that you are looking at that schedule, because if for some reason they need to make any last minute changes, they push all of those notifications through that to the students that are signed up for that particular day, or for the days in general that they're trying to send information about in regards to orientation. Because sometimes things happen, and especially in a virtual setting, there may be that a speaker or a session has to get changed to a time, and they have to push that through, for example.
Naseem, there was another really good question here that I think you can answer. Would our advisors be able to figure out if we've met prerequisites for a class if our transcripts have not been processed? Or would it be better to send an unofficial transcript to our advisor in the meantime? What are your thoughts on that?
That is a great question, and I saw someone else, a couple of other people had asked questions in regards to that, about making sure that you're in the right classes for the summer that's pertaining to your degree or to your requirements. And I know a couple people had kind of added here late, which is great. Welcome. And so just to share one more time, that when you go to the summer website for our summer students, and we had dropped the link in the chat, making sure that you are checking the college that your major falls under. If you're not sure what college your major falls under, then Ali can put in the chat, we have a general advising website for all of our students at Virginia Tech, and you can actually look at majors for all of Virginia Tech, either by college or alphabetically, and it will still tell you what college your major falls under. Or you can always ask us, and we can tell you now if you want to know. But in here, it will tell you specifically what the process is for getting registered for those summer classes. And so a lot of it is, of course, referring you to an academic advisor and an advisor working with you. So like Hamplin College of Business, a lot of the majors, they put a new student hold on your account, and they want you to reach out so the advising team can work with you, and the advising team and the advisors will make sure that they're advising you on the correct courses. Now, in terms of your transcripts, and especially in this very short turnaround between your end of your spring semester and the start of the summer term, if your SRAR is updated, then the advisors should be able to look at that, but I do always recommend to our transfer students, even if you're coming to an orientation in July or June, to have an unofficial transcript saved. You can save it as a PDF so that you can share it with your advisor. And if you are corresponding with that person to set up a time to talk, you could go ahead and send that to them. and that way they can look at it and start to get an idea of what classes to recommend to you. And to have that proactively, advisors love that. I had done advising for many years, and I can tell you that when a student reached out to me and sent it, it was great because I didn't have to go back and forth, because they're inevitably are going to ask you for an unofficial copy of your transcript, and transcripts if you go on multiple institutions, so that they have an idea of what you've taken and what they can recommend.
And I would just second everything Naseem said and say, absolutely, yeah, have that unofficial transcript available. Because while certain folks and advisors should be able to access like your self-reported academic record, because of the circumstances of this semester and the different grading systems that schools changed into, the SRAR didn't always capture that well. And so sometimes students are entering different types of passes and different grades in different ways. So it will be good for the advisor to be able to have that, even an unofficial copy, but in the notation that your college or university uses for how grades are determined, because that can decide whether or not credit could be awarded. And they can look at that even hypothetically and see what should take place when those credits are going to be articulated into your record, and make the best recommendations on kind of building that schedule for you.
I'll add, we did mention that the first orientation modules will be pushed out on Tuesday, May 26th. One of those does include a transfer credit module. So you'll be assisted through all the tools that we offer through Virginia Tech to see what each class transfers as, so that you can do an unofficial self-evaluation of how your credits should or are expected to transfer. Is it safe to schedule orientation after my summer classes have started? Since orientation's all day, I would hope to avoid accidentally scheduling orientation on test day. That's totally fine. Your orientation does not have to, it can't necessarily be before your summer classes start, considering our first summer session is starting next week. So yes, it's totally fine to do it after. As you have navigated the summer class registration and meeting with an advisor, some of the information might not be new to you anymore. You might have already figured out some of that on your own, which is why we're having a session like this to kind of help ease you into that, so that you're not navigating it blindly and then being told the information in orientation later. So absolutely, Eric, it's probably going to be best to do it after your summer classes if that date is available. Kathy, orientation modules start 5/26 are required or optional? These are going to be required. It's just going to be watching a 5 to 7 minute video per unit and then answering some questions about it. So it's going to be really informative. They have some that were made specific to academic advising, to do things like transfer credits, or to do things like how to build your degree, how to understand what major requirements exist. But then there's also some modules that will assist you through a lot of our resources that we offer through student affairs, getting involved, any student engagement pieces that exist. Yeah, Uber, if you do not see an advisor under general student information, then you should refer to the site that Naseem shared with the, Naseem, can you drop that link one more time? The summer orientation site. You should refer to that and then see who the contact person is within your college. Yeah, I'm gonna be quiet for a second if people are still typing questions, so y'all roll. Tristan, that's a really good question about our College of Engineering. Jared, you want to fill that one?
Yeah, and it's actually, I don't know the answer to this.
Oh,
so
sorry. I just
might
assumed
be
you
able to answer it.
I do. I have the answer. I was just passing.
Okay, you go ahead. I don't. So again, there are certain things outside of my realm. Once you're a student here, I get to say good luck. You're going to do great. And you're in that kind of in-depth advising when you're talking about progressing out of, say, general engineering and into those majors. I'm not sure exactly how that advising system is structured.
There you go.
You guys know. You guys are the experts to know how that is. So.
There are two different advising structures within engineering. So you were admitted to the College of Engineering within general engineering, and there are a team of advisors that are specific to general engineering. They will assist you through your course selection related to your prospective major, because as transfers, you might have a lot of those general engineering classes out of the way, as we would expect you to. So they're going to advise you to assist you through anything that is available to you within a prospective engineering major. You will then be eligible to declare your major if you've fulfilled all the general engineering requirements, which will apply into your major. There's a separate process for that I personally don't know the specifics to. If you're accepted into that major or whatever your ranking choices were, you will then get an assigned advisor within that engineering major. So you might possibly have you will most likely have two different advisors within engineering. Ooh, I don't know the answer to the immunization requirements.
I think it's a very good question. And it's one that we won't know the answer for, especially students who have kind of difficulties when we're looking at medical appointments and the difficulty in accessing those and kind of the inability for students to get certain things. I think it's a really, really good question. I'm not sure who the best person to kind of punt that to is. I would imagine someone in student affairs, potentially. Nasim, do you think new student and family programs would either know the answer to that in terms of students having difficulty completing the immunization forms and getting the required immunizations, or is there somebody better to direct them to?
So Allie and I just put the link in there in terms of immunizations, but if you're on that summer website we've been referencing, if you click the immunization one, if you click the immunization one, then it talks a little bit about it, and it does have a contact person for you to reach out to. So that is, and then it tells you like how to upload your forms, what are the required immunizations, what are the recommended ones. So that information is on there for you to reach out for. Since the immunization hold is put on by our Schifrin Health Center and not by anybody else, they are the office that you kind of have to work with in talking about that hold, since it can prevent registration. Now you certainly can talk to your advisor as well, but they're probably going to refer you to that office and that contact on there.
Cool. Cassie, I'm going to start with your question. Well, no, Brian, your question is quick and simple. Orientation modules will be accessible starting May 26th, and they will be released every so often after that. So May 26th is going to be where you will get those that you don't have access to them yet, and they will be in Visuals In, which is where you registered for orientation. Cassie, the plan for registering for fall classes and when you could find out if you are a second or a first year. That's a great question. I'm going to answer the fall classes question first. That will happen at orientation. So the College of Architecture and Urban Studies has a great advising team, and they will meet with you. I do believe they will probably do small settings or one-on-one, one or the other, and will work with you to set a fall schedule during your summer orientation. And finding out if you're a second or first year. So as a transfer student, and Jared, Nasim, jump in on this, you will come in with a certain amount of credits. Those credits could be anywhere from 12 to 60 or 65. That's going to vary for each of you. Typically, a college student academic year is measured in 30 credits. So you could have 60-ish credits and be considered in a sophomore year going into your junior year. However, you don't know how those credits are necessarily going to transfer to complete degree requirements, so that could look different than the 30 credit per year requirement. Is that clear, Jared, Nasim? Anything to clarify there?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, so that's credit status in terms of your status on campus. That has bearing on some things, and it doesn't matter at all for other things. It can matter in terms of certain privileges like priority in class registration or like eligibility for athletic tickets and like that kind of stuff. But it also may not, in having a specific status, it may not necessarily determine how many semesters do I have left at Virginia Tech or something like that, which is what a lot of people want to use that as in terms of, am I going to have junior status? And that means I'm going to have just 1 year after this year. I'm going to be in sophomore status and I'm looking at 3 years, or freshman status and I've got to do 4 years. It's not necessarily tied to that because there's so many different factors that will help determine your timeline. And hopefully by getting a jump start on things in the summer, if you're looking to try to accelerate that timeline, get a jump on it, get caught up, whatever it may be, you're going to be putting yourself in a really good spot to be making that kind of good progress towards earning your degree.
Thank you. I do want to come back to Stephanie's question before we forget about it. Naseem, when will transfer students be able to change their major or to a more specific Virginia Tech major, and what does that process look like?
So I guess I should turn it to Jared to start and then, right? And then wrap up from what you would say.
Yeah, so the admissions office, with direction from the university, has been pretty restrictive about students changing their major in advance this year. Students are able to submit a major change request kind of at any point to our office up until beginning as a student. So you would email appchange at vt.edu to make a major change request. However, there's a big caveat. It's very unlikely that a major change would be approved, especially for an incoming transfer student at this point. And it's very likely that you would need to navigate the internal change of major process that takes place once you're a student. And that is, for a lot of programs, very accessible. For certain programs, there will be different steps that you have to navigate. I'll let Naseem kind of jump in there. That's her area of expertise.
So, you know, if your major is not changed by putting a request in through app change, then you can work with actually our office. So Allie and I are one of, I want to say maybe 10 of us that serve as what we call transitional advisors at Virginia Tech. And that means that we work with any student that is a Virginia Tech student that's interested in changing their major. And so I can have Allie, I mean, again, that's actually on our advising website, our advising.vt.edu website. But what you'll do is you'll still need to sign up for orientation under your current major and attend your orientation session for that major. And then your advisor or department can work with you so that you can get scheduled with one of us. And we're doing Zoom appointments this summer to talk to students about if they want to change your major, what that process looks like, what major you're interested in, what the courses would be required. That way you could potentially have your fall schedule set up for that major transition. And then as a first student or first semester transfer student, no major changes can happen until after the end of the first semester and after grades are posted. And so then you're able to request a major change through Hokie Spa. And that's how Virginia Tech does it for major changes as a whole, is they have very specific major change time periods. And it's usually at the end of every semester that students are allowed to request a major change for their primary major.
Thank you. Jared, Kathy asked, how will she know if she is accepted into Pamplin? Will it show up on her information somewhere? I'm assuming that would be in an acceptance letter.
Yeah, so in theory, if you're here, you received the invitation to join us because you had been offered into a major at Virginia Tech, and you then accepted that offer. So in the student portal, the guest account portal, you would have seen where you were offered, into what program. If you're applied to a major such as management or marketing or finance, those majors that are hosted in the Pamplin College of Business, you are in the Pamplin College of Business. There's no separate application that you start out as kind of pre-business or anything like that. If you're admitted into one of those programs in Pamplin, you're in the business school and have full access to kind of all those privileges.
And we have a question from Anon. I think that there is a point of clarification on this specific question. So summer class registration, you were presumably admitted for summer classes. If you have not already registered for those, you can navigate to the summer transfer advising site, find the contact person within your college, and talk to that person about scheduling summer classes. No one here is probably registered for fall classes. That is not expected of you at this point. That will take place at summer orientation within your college with a specific advisor. So just to clear that up. So summer, if you haven't already done it, go ahead and get started on that proactive contact within your college. That's going to be on that advising site that we've shared in the chat. Fall, that is going to be orientation. So make sure if you haven't already register for orientation, that invitation is going to be found in your @vt.edu email account. While I'm on that subject, make sure you're monitoring that email account very closely in the coming months, because that is where all important information is going to be sent to you regarding your transition to Virginia Tech. Jared?
Hey, Allie, it looks like Daniel had a question above a couple of these, and I want to make sure we don't miss it. Daniel asked about high school transcripts, kind of revisiting that. So Daniel notes that his high school isn't accepting transcript requests at the moment, and is concerned about the foreign language requirements and about submitting these later. So that's why I'm very happy that it's not a requirement that you have to get your high school transcript in right now, because that would be causing some extra headaches for a lot of people with high schools being operating remotely and having different departments kind of shut down. And I've definitely heard this, that a lot of high schools out there are not processing transcript requests. And even if they are, they're not prioritizing it for students who graduated maybe several years ago and who are transfer students to a college or university. So that's okay. And that's why it's not urgent that you get it in. It's okay to submit those later. It can be very late in the game. You don't want to wait and put it off until your senior year at Virginia Tech. Your advisors and those conversations that you'll have about, hey, this is what you have left to do at Virginia Tech to earn your degree, until you get that kind of looked at and until they can put that check mark beside your foreign language credit, that will be an outstanding item. And so you just don't want that hanging over your head for a long time. They'll be interested in making sure that that's checked off, so that way they don't have to plan for, well, how are we going to look to enroll you in foreign language coursework at Virginia Tech, and fit that in kind of the schedule plan that they're working with you on.
Thank you. Cassie, thank you for repeating that scholarship and financial aid question. For general knowledge, if we're skipping any of your questions, feel free to drop them again, just so that we make sure to answer all your questions. Financial aid should have already been packaged for all incoming students. That can be found on HokiSpa within financial aid information. There's a few tabs you'll have to go through to find the aid year, but that should be available information for for the 2020-2021 academic year. If you're not seeing that information and you believe you should be seeing that information, definitely contact the Office of University Scholarships and Financial Aid sooner rather than later, so that you can ensure that all necessary paperwork has been done there. Financial aid for the summer be processed. So I'm afraid to say anything that might be incorrect. I do believe that a summer financial aid application is the prior year, so that wouldn't be the 2020-2021 FAFSA. That would have been the other year that you would have applied. But I do encourage you to contact university scholarships and financial aid for that information.
And just to add on to that, I mean, absolutely what Allie said, and what we hear from our partners in the Office of Scholarships and Financial Aid in terms of when a student isn't seeing what they're supposed to see, then it's sometimes they haven't done what they needed to do. And so they work with students now to kind of correct those issues if there's additional paperwork, if the FAFSA wasn't filed, or, and what is common for transfer students, maybe a FAFSA was completed, but the transferring institution was not noted on the FAFSA. So if Virginia Tech wasn't included on that FAFSA that you did last year, Virginia Tech doesn't have access to that FAFSA and can't do anything with kind of your package. So that's why it would be important for you to follow up. I dropped the link to the financial aid website, as did Nasim, so we got you there in terms of connecting with financial aid, using some of the resources that are available on their website. The best way to get in contact with them, because they are experiencing a high volume of inquiries, is going to be to send an email. They have a lot of counselors who are responding very quickly to emails coming from students and families. So send them an email at finaid@vt.edu.
And Canton, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that name, but I see a really good question from you. Are certain classes only offered in certain summer sessions? Yes. There's 3 different summer sessions: summer session 1, summer session 2, and the summer session that lasts for the entire summer. So that information can be found within our timetable of classes, the link that I just dropped there, to see what classes are offered in which session and if they're available in the summer at all. So you can use that timetable of classes. That's also accessible. That's a weird looking link. That's accessible if you just Google timetable of classes at Virginia Tech. You can find that information.
Allie, there was a great question about paying tuition. So I didn't know if you're able to show from the student side that information, but while you were getting that up, Daniel had a question about as a general engineering student, if you were to only take 6 credits during the summer, would you be allowed to take engineering courses in the fall to meet the 12 credit requirements to declare an engineering major? And the answer is yes. And typically most students don't meet that 12 credit requirement until the end of the first full semester, so the end of the fall semester anyways. And so you would still be able to take classes, you would still be in general engineering, and then at the end of the fall semester, you'd be able to do that major change request. And traditionally, but the way College of Engineering has done it is if you have a 3.0 cumulative GPA at the end of your first semester at Virginia Tech, once you completed those 12 credit hours, you're guaranteed your first major choice, with the exception of biomedical engineering, because they just have a different, they're a newer major, so they have a different process. And your GPA starts over when you come to Virginia Tech, so you start brand new, fresh 0.00, so you don't carry over the GPA you have from your previous institution.
Yeah. And will we be touching on how to pay tuition? Thank you for pointing that out. So I'm going to share my screen to once again view the student view of Hokie Spa. Make sure that you are in the Hokie Spa tab at the top and go down to Hokie Wallet. So this is where you can view and pay your e-bill. There's going to be different methods of payment that you can view on there. You can also, let's say, for example, that you sent a scholarship to Virginia Tech from an outside organization. You can view if that has been received within this tab right here. So monitor that closely. If you are seeing a bill right now and expecting a scholarship to roll in, definitely keep checking that, because they're processing that information on a rolling basis.
Just something to add to that, I'm going to put a link in the chat that will show you the payment deadlines for the different semesters, unless Jared already did that because he's laughing.
No, I was about to.
Okay.
Hit there as well. So for the Bursar's office, you got it.
Jared and I have that same brain tonight, because bills are usually generated like a month prior. So as you are signing up for classes, after they run that bill cycle, you do have to make sure you check Hokie Spa for your updated fees and knowing what to pay.
And I will just add to that, so they have information about kind of payments and deadlines, and even payment options in terms of splitting up your bill into different installments. So if that's something that would be convenient for you or that you need, you can definitely check out the information on that.
And someone asked if this is going to be recorded. Yes, we are recording. I will show a screen here in a few minutes to conclude our evening together. That includes contact information for Nasim, Jared, some various offices on campus about housing, as well as my contact information. So you can email most likely me or Nasim for a recording of this session.
And then somebody asked about if summer classes are going to be added to the schedule. So for the summer sessions that start on Tuesday, don't anticipate classes getting added to that. But for the session that starts in July, there is a possibility that classes can get added as we get closer to that period if you're looking for specific classes.
Yes. And Eric, you asked a good question. Will you be notified of scholarships that were received as a result of your Virginia Tech application on the VT Scholarship Central? That is all going to be viewable within your Hokie Spa financial aid information. So I'll go ahead and navigate through that screen just real quick because it's several tabs. So if you did receive any university scholarships from that Scholarship Central, most likely that is going to be down here in financial aid information, my award information, award package by aid year, and then you would select 2020, 2021 to then view the information. Mine is not lit up because I'm no longer a student, but you can see the various tabs and it would be within award overview. If you scroll halfway down there, you can see what kind of grants, scholarships, loans that you were awarded. And you can even click on a link to read about each one, because some of them may have some specific requirements of whether that's major, whether that's a certain number of credits you need to be enrolled in. Some of them even want a thank you note. So definitely read those things carefully, because that's going to be really important to you. Eric, I am not sure about your second question. Is it possible that they are pending or not showing up at this point? If you are expecting a certain number of scholarships, definitely contact University Scholarships and Financial Aid and chat with them about that. I don't know their specific timelines. While I'm seeing folks log off, please feel free to continue asking us questions. I am going to share my screen to flash our contact information one more time. Screenshot this, save it. We hope to stay in contact with you, especially me and Naseem, now that we're going to be supporting you through the onboarding process. But Jared's also a great resource throughout this time, and we all three work really closely together. So we're going to continue answering questions for the next little bit. But if you feel good about all the questions that were answered, thanks for joining us tonight. I have an unofficial transcript for my transfer credits. Can I submit that till I acquire the official one? We will not accept an unofficial transcript to be evaluated by the registrar's office. If you have an unofficial copy, you might want to hold on to that and share it with your academic advisor to support through the academic advising process.
And I would, in this case, given you know, what's disclosed, kind of because it looks like that maybe the school is overseas, and with all the circumstances that are going on. So that sounds like a really good question to email to transfercredit@vt.edu, because we're obviously going to be as flexible as we can with some of our official policies and kind of the documents that are needed. And so if you do have credit from an institution and are unable to get access to an official document at this point because of the ongoing public health crisis around the world, that's a pretty good reason. And so I would email the transfercredit@vt.edu email address and ask that question to see what types of alternatives, if there are any alternatives that are available, that you would be able to submit kind of in an official capacity, or if there is going to be a delay in getting those official documents, kind of what options are available.
We did not talk about housing at all, but I think Kathy has a really valid question here. Easiest way to find incoming third-year students with off-campus housing. So right now on the screen, you're seeing two really important resources. One is Virginia Tech off-campus housing and their email address, but we also have VTalk or vtoffcampus.com, which is an off-campus housing search specifically for college students. You have to have an or a .edu email to use that account, and it's specific to our Blacksburg and surrounding area. You can also engage in our social media. So right now you're also seeing our Instagrams and Facebooks that are really active, thanks to Naseem and Allison. So if you want to join us there and maybe chat with some folks who are involved in those two communities, that might also be a good touch point for you.
And as people start to log off, I also just want to echo Allie and thank you for joining us tonight. Welcome to Virginia Tech, to the Hokie transfer community. Stay in touch with us. Our office does a lot of different programs and initiatives to bring our transfer students together, to give you an opportunity to meet one another, to meet other transfer students, and to socialize. But also, Allie and myself are part of a team that is here to help you in your transition. So whatever questions you have for us, feel free to reach out to us. And if we don't know the answer, we know where and whom to direct you to.
Daniel, for the Diversity EDU, you can use that website that we dropped earlier, and maybe Jared can drop it again, but there's some contact information for you there. If it's not accessible to you yet, it will definitely be accessible to you when you start orientation. So. Eric, if you're living on campus, we do provide beds. It depends on the living community if a loft is provided. I think that is, it just depends on the specific building, but beds are provided.
And I think lofts tend to be as well, like lofting kits, and I wouldn't go wild with buying certain things like that are very kind of purpose built or purpose specific until you figure out kind of that living situation and until you see what style you're going to be in terms of room. Because I know from my time at Virginia Tech, you weren't able to use kind of those third-party like lofting kits, and you had to use the furniture and the kits that Virginia Tech had, and they will provide those for you. So I would be careful about spending too much money on some things until you know that it can be used.
I hope that everyone got their questions answered. Like I said, if you want a recording of this, contact me or Naseem. Our emails are on the screen right now. If you have questions throughout this period, we know that it's a weird transition. We also know that things are not like they usually are. So we are willing to answer any questions you have, or at least direct you to the right office or the right person. We try to do that consistently and try to check our emails consistently. So we thank you all for joining us tonight. We'll stay on a little bit if there's a last lingering question, but if not, thanks for joining us.
You're all welcome. Very welcome. We're so happy to do it. And we hope that you guys have a great start to your journey here at Virginia Tech over the summer, even though it is a little bit of a non-traditional summer and a little bit of a non-traditional start. We believe in you guys, and we're here to support you all the way through that process.